Yo, what is going on, guys? Got Hikertoad here, bringing you back CPC Week 8. The regular season is nearly wrapping up, and this week we are going up against Will, the RNG Lord, coach of the San Antonio Sparce. Will is a longtime CPC member. I think he's been here since like Season 1, if not Season 2. He's been here for a definite while, and I haven't had the chance to play him before this, so definitely good chance to play him. Always good to play new people and all that, and scout a bit, I guess. But yeah, he has an absolutely terrifying team as well, which is not fun. With the Doug Trio, Heatran, Tapu Lele, Mega, Alakazam, Salamence, Alolan Muck, Jolteon, Dunsparce, just to name a few. I think I missed one, essentially, but it'll be on the screen, so you'll see it. But yeah, he has an absolutely terrifying core. He has the Tapu Lele, which, yeah, that's allowed, so that's interesting. But yeah, he has the Tapu Lele plus Mega Alakazam, so that thing's just buffed even further with the Dugtrio Alolan Muck, which is just renders pretty much anything that could potentially counter those two useless, as Alolan Muck can Pursuit Trap bulky Psychics, and Dugtrio can trap the bulky Steels. So definitely just an absolutely terrifying core to prep for, and I think it's mainly just to prep, like, as well, like, it's really annoying to play around as well, but it's mainly just, like, prep. It's like, how do you prep for this? So it's just, like, really, and kind of aids, not gonna lie, but, yeah, so in this matchup, while he does have all these scary things, I think that the matchup is actually fairly even, as I do think that I do have some decent responses to his team, as well as some decent breakers, just break him down and then potentially clean with some of my later mons. And one of my breakers this week is Mega Mawile with the sub 3 attacks. It absolutely goes nuts on his team. He doesn't have a single switch into this, as Sub Punch should be able to OHKO a Heatran unless it is Tropical Berry. Play Rough hits pretty much everything else besides Heatran. And Sucker Punch is just for Dugtrio for revenge trap, if it wants to try and revenge me without the Psychic Terrain up, as well as I can possibly live a hit from Dugtrio if it's not banded from full. So that's definitely something to keep in note. So he has to definitely try and play very carefully around this Mega Mawile, as it's pretty much guaranteed to kill if I play it right. And he needs to make sure he can revenge it right after that, otherwise it's just going to put a lot of hurt on his team. Tornadus is just really good against him, I'll be honest. His flying resist is Jolteon, everything else just gets blown back, so that's why I have superpower, just to hit it a little harder. Obviously, if he's like some sort of like Wish Pass defensive, Jolteon will probably tank or whatever, but it just is nice, and U-turn can give me momentum anyways. Oh yeah, as well as superpower hits Heatran, I forgot about that, that's also his other resist. So enough, I have just, like, I don't even really need much investment, like Hurricane just hits everything a lot, so I just have some speed and a bit of bulk for a few of his mons on his team. Next up I have Darmanitan. I really needed Darmanitan this match, as something like a Tapu Lele and a Mega Alakazam can be extremely difficult to avenge otherwise, as if I'm not Scarf Darmanitan, something like a Calm Mind Tapu Lele could potentially win a speed tie, and like I don't really have any ways to avenge it, at least on this team, as I don't have the Iron Tail on Torn, and like Alolan Persian really can't do much to it, if we're being honest. So yeah, this hits him pretty well. Like, his team doesn't really enjoy fire, like he has Heatran, Blastoise, and Salamence, but if I can weaken those, then like I can at least like get chip off on stuff like Blastoise, and like obviously he like doesn't do much to Heatran, but I can U-turn out on a predicted switch, so I can gain momentum and potentially break him like that. And so next up, I do have the Alolan Persian. So because he has a Tapu Lele, right? And you think, well, Alolan Persian would never be a Tapu Lele switch in. So I think that, especially with the terrain up, he will be more inclined to click a Psychic move every time over something like a Fairy, or like even a Fighting move, which would blow this back. But I think he'd be more likely to click a Fairy move, at least against this. Because I think he would most likely expect Mawile to be a switch in instead of this. But this is basically my one-time sort of check to this, as I can take a hit. Like, if it's a Psychic, I can just take nothing and potentially get chip off on this, or just Parting Shot out into something else to try and like not lose them on. So yeah, pretty cool set. Just enough speed for the Salamence, as this is a decent check to that as well. And Thunderbolt is also there just to weaken the Blastoise in case like he burns me with Scald or something, because Blastoise is very annoying for this team to deal with. Now I have the Spadef Piloswine with just rocks 3 attacks, dual stab. Piloswine is actually really good against him. His only switching is like Blastoise, which, like I said, if I would wear down, like a lot of my team can just really go in, like Blastoise, like Piloswine, and Blastoise is probably like one of his better Mawile responses, just because it can outspeed and potentially get a burn, which like isn't like the best, but like it still doesn't take that much. And like if he does get the burn, I'd be in a bad position. But he doesn't have really good Mawile answers anyway, so that's probably like at least defensively. I think he can deal with it decently offensively. But yeah, I do have just enough attack. I think this is just the attack is for like Mence or whatever, and then I just have some Spadef to help take on stuff like Tran, because as you see, this version, as like I had a few ideas. I considered stuff like Starmie and Quillfish, but in the end, obviously, I don't have them, so I definitely kind of need that fire switch in, quote unquote. Although this isn't the best, but it's what I got for this. And now I got a bit of heat right here. Got a Lone Executor, Trick Room, 3 attacks. This thing absolutely goes ham on his team, absolutely destroys him. He really doesn't have much for this under the Trick Room besides pivoting, and if he predicts incorrectly, then I can just get a kill with this, as well as I can potentially set up the Trick Room for Mega Mawile as well, which is absolutely huge. As Earthquake hits the Heatran, Draco hits Salamence, and Woodhammer will destroy everything else, which is why I have the Miracle Seed. Like pretty complicated spread. Basically just like did some calcs to see if I can kill stuff with rocks and all that, and some bulk to help potentially set up the Trick Room. Like this thing's actually really good because it can punish a Dugtrio, killing a Mega Mawile or Darmanitan. So like I get a kill with one of those, or like most likely Mawile. He revenges it, but then I can go into this and start doing some damage, and if it's late game, then I can definitely potentially just clean this. Didn't go too in depth with most of the sets, well, like EV wise or whatever, as well as actually a potential playoff opponent. As he is in the race, he definitely needs this win. We are at this point 5-2, looking to lock up playoffs. If we do win this game, we do lock playoffs 100%, even if we were to lose out. So definitely want to try and do that. But yeah, I'm not gonna go into all the like specifics of the spread. Like even though, like obviously, like I'm showing it or whatever, but like, yeah. So that's it. I will be back for the battle. Yo, what is going on, little tadpoles? Got Hikertoad here, and if you're just tuning into the battle, hi, hope you're having a good day. But we are going up against Will, the RNG Lord, against his terrifying team that he has. I'll just quickly go over my team as I'm sub 3 attacks Mega Mawile. I have the Taunt 3 attacks 20 as a sort of pivot. I have the Scarf Darmanitan to revenge Tapu Lele and Mega Alakazam. I have the Roselia Berry Alone Persian to help pivot into the Tapu Lele. Just bulky Spadef, 3 attacks, rocks, Piloswine, and a Trick Room, 3 attacks, Alone Executor. So looking at the team that Will brought, pretty much what I expected, bar one big fact that there is no Mega Alakazam, which is absolutely huge. I was really worried about that. Kind of makes me regret bringing Darmanitan a little bit, but nonetheless, I think it was a bring that I had to do, at least with the current team that I did. At least with the current team that I did build for this matchup, as he did bring the Blastoise, Tapu Lele, Heatran, Dugtrio, Salamence, and the Olymux. So a pretty scary roster nonetheless, even without the Mega Alakazam, as you really just can't sleep on Tapu Lele. And just looking at his team, the majority of his draft actually loses to the Piloswine, and I want to try and scout to see if his Blastoise is leftovers or not, because I think that because if I can wear it down, and even if it is leftovers, I can just start chipping down on it and see what type of spread it is, if that is to switch into Piloswine. So I'm just going to lead with my Piloswine. I can potentially get a Brox as well, but he leads with his Heatran. I'm just going to go for the Earthquake here. It's my safest play. I don't really need to go for Rocks here when he can just easily just spin them away with Mega Blastoise. I think Earthquake gains me more than Stealth Rocks gains me information. and like rocks aren't like necessary to me for me to win. Well, although they are nice for stuff like a lone executor to potentially clean with the Trick Room. So I'm just going to fire off the Earthquake right here as he fires off a modest Choice Specs Flash Cannon. So yeah, that's absolutely crazy, and his Heat Train goes down turn 1, which is absolutely huge. And this like is a real game changer as he now has no switch into Play Rough. He doesn't have a good switch into Torn anymore. He lost his fire immunity, so I can fire off Flare Blitzes, although he does have the Blastoise and Salamence. So it's not like free, but it's like more free than before. Alolan Executor now doesn't have as many risks, as that's one less mon that I have to worry about in the Trick Room, as I don't have to worry about Earthquaking this. So he has one less mon to potentially pivot around. So that's absolutely amazing killing that turn 1, as my Piloswine is low and almost weakened, but like I'll take that trade any day of the week. I figured that he was Yachi right there, but I really didn't lose. But I really didn't lose anything by just staying in right there. As if he Dragon Danced up and I switched out, then I was just in a terrible position, and that was just something that I had no need to risk. As I was assuming that, even though like the attacking move was obvious, because he didn't want to risk me just like going for like Icicle Crash or Icicle Spear if he has been scouting me, because I do run that pretty much every week instead of Icicle Crash. So definitely something. So I definitely figured that. So it definitely wasn't like, even though him attacking was more likely than him Dragon Dancing, staying in was the play, as like I could have just killed it if he did both the Dragon Dance. So I'm just gonna go ahead and revenge this with the Tornadus, as he doesn't have a, like I said, he doesn't have a flying switch anymore. So I'm just gonna pop the Z move right here in case he wanted to go like a Lone Muck, as well as a regular Hurricane can miss, and also has a chance to not kill, I think. As I know that last week he did run a Curse variant of Muck, so I'm going to taunt this to try and prevent that, as my team doesn't deal with that naturally all too well, as it's very annoying. As it just goes for the knockoff, I'm going to go into Mawile expecting another knockoff or a Poison Jab, which he goes for. And this is great. I can just fire off a Play Rough for free right now. Something is going to die, no matter what. He doesn't have a switch into this, so I'm just going to fire off the Play Rough, as I could have potentially tried to get a sub up right there, but there wasn't really any point, especially if he does have the Fire Blast. He can just break that, and then I'm at less health, which means that the Dugtrio can revenge me from full if it's not banded. So I definitely don't want to do that, so I'm just going to Play Rough, as I at least want to get damage off, as he misses the Fire Blast, which is absolutely huge, as now if he's not Choice Banded Dugtrio, he can't revenge this, which is just really terrible for him at this point, as like it's like I have a full HP Mega Mawile that just puts in a lot of work on him, and I don't like, he doesn't really have a good way of revenging this now unless he's like banded Dugtrio. But like if he's banded, then he can if he's banded, he loses to this 1v1 still, because trying to think, I'm slow. Oh yeah, because even if he's like banded, he'll die to Sucker, and if he's sub, then he can't Oko. So since it's not the Z move, since his Tapu Lele is actually the Z move, that's also why I kind of figured that the Mence wasn't. That's why I also figured that the Mence was Yachi, because he isn't Z move anymore. He actually switched to Lele like this week, as he goes into Lele to set up the terrain, most likely for Dugtrio, as I'm just going to Play Rough, as that does so much, absolutely just a lot. As I'm just going to go into my Torn right here, as I don't really take much from the Scald, as Crit Burn actually doesn't really do that much. But yeah, I just need some chip damage off on this. He doesn't have a Hurricane switch in, as I do thankfully hit, which is unfortunate because he did miss his Fire Blast. But yeah, I can't kill this with like a superpower right now because I am burned. So I'm just going to return out into my version to just finish this off, as he does just Ice Beam, and he's going to keep it as fodder, I think. Yeah, as I'm just going to get chip off on the Lele. If he's Scarfed Lele, I'm not worried, because I can whip a hit, unless he Focus Blast, but then it's he's locked in, so I'm not worried. I'm just gonna Parting Shot out into my Mega Mawile, as Mega Mawile just needs to get some damage off at this point, as he does reveal the Substitute, which is actually pretty cool, most likely for Sucker Punch and all that, as he's going to actually go for the Guardian of Alola, which I actually forgot about this. It's really good tech, because it really brings Mega Mawile down low, and he struggles to actually kill it otherwise. So like that's actually pretty good prep on his part. But yeah, I'm just gonna Sucker Punch and then Sucker Punch again. I didn't want Lele to end up with a substitute, as I'm just going to go for. I'm gonna reveal the tech right now. I'm gonna go for the Focus Punch, as I didn't have to risk me missing the play rough, as Focus Punch would have been as Focus Punch, not Blast. Mega Mall should never run that. Should be able to break the sub unless he's like max Fizz Def, like max HP, max Fizz Def, and I don't risk the miss, which is really good. So now I can just go out into my Darmanitan. I can go for the Flare Blitz, kill this off, and this is basically GG, as the Alarm Executor can clean up if he is like scarfed or like sashed or whatever. So yeah, this is going to be a 3-0 win. Unfortunately, like I said, the miss definitely did suck, but I definitely did have ways to win. So it's definitely not like he just like. I think it really just put him on the back foot, but I definitely did have ways to win if that did not happen. Still unfortunate though, as Will definitely is hunting for a playoff spot right now, and it's definitely getting close. As we are now 6-2 plus 15, I think we are now locked for playoffs, which is great. So regardless of what happens in our next two matches, even if we were to lose like 6-0, we would be locked, because basically it's impossible for 4 teams to get like more to have more wins than me, like have the same amount of wins and like differential. It's kind of hard for me to explain, at least. But yeah, just know that we're locked in. Next week we do face up against Jake, the undisputed CPC king. So look forward to that. And yeah, peace.